I seen Coming to America too. You know, I was gonna keep quiet. I was. But after seeing all these other motherfuckers critique it, giving negative reviews and shit, why not add another one? Relax, I'm joking. Let's just say it'll be an honest review. Coming from a comedy writer, actor, director, producer, such as myself, a review coming from a creator of that genre is somewhat more understanding. We can get in the minds of writers and directors and actors. We can understand them more on why they do this and why they do that and why they added this and why they took away that. We understand that. What goes on behind the scenes and the creative process of why they do certain things. So I'm going to give my review based off being a comedy writer and actor. I don't really believe in comparing sequels because the first one always stands out and almost never gets defeated. Unless you're the John Wicks or the Mission Impossibles. Those motherfucking movies, in my opinion, keep topping one another, leaving the first one behind. First off, big ups to Eddie Murphy for putting a ton of black actors on his payroll. This nigga alone raised the unemployment rate. And big ups to Kanye Barris, Barry Blaustein, and David Sheffield for putting together a warm and colorful, somewhat funny script. Meaning it could have been way funnier if they didn't seem to not want to get that PC world mad, the cancer culture movement. It's like, in my opinion, they sacrificed funny not to piss people off. But I heard there was many drafts of this movie, and Eddie chose the one Kenya and them did. He saw a vision and went with it. Kudos! Now, if you're a fan of comedy musicals and PC, this film is definitely for you. Or if you're a fan of comedy but don't mind a lot of singing, this movie is also for you. But if you dislike musicals regardless of genres, or a movie that goes overboard with the PC, going all out with feminism, it's probably not for you. But if you're like me, someone that didn't know anything about this movie until it came out, with my dislikes in mind, upon watching it, there was a lot of cringes involved. But being a huge fan of Eddie, I had to see it all the way. Put my dislikes on hold and looked at it from a fresh story point, which I did, and I liked it. Didn't love it, but I liked it. Memorable? No. Will I watch it again? Still in there on that one. Get back to me. I noticed a lot of people are calling it straight trash. I'm gonna call it straight litter. There was a lot of litter going on. Trash, you toss it out. It's gone. Litter, you sweep it to the side and wait for the next scene. Some people say it should have been called something else. Coming to Zamunda, Wakanda, something of that nature. No, let's drop that shit right now. It's Coming to America, period. Even if Eddie didn't step one foot in America in this movie, it's Coming to America. It's a continuation from the first. He already established what he did in America. If Prince Hakeem and Lisa moved to Asia, it still should have been called Coming to America. Maybe add a subtitle, but decided to move to Asia. Coming to America 2, subtitle, Prince Hakeem and Lisa decided to move to Asia. Something like that. With that being said, yeah, they probably should have added a subtitle. That way, so many people wouldn't have been upset. They would have known at firsthand the motherfucker was going to be in Africa for the duration of the movie, with the exception of 2 plane trips. Now, to the movie. To me, it was way too much shit going on. I couldn't feel for any of the characters. It was too many of them motherfuckers. A good feel-good movie, I like to shed a tear at the end. When a man gets the girl, after seeing so many trials and tribulations throughout the movie, I should feel something at the end. I was disappointed because I didn't feel shit in the first Coming to America when Hakeem finally got with Lisa. I felt that shit. Was a tear shed? Almost. When Lavelle got with his love interest, to me, it was too rushed. From a writer's perspective, it should have been more scenes of their chemistry buildup. Not just a couple of haircuts and a walk through Zamunda on the balcony. All of a sudden, you're in love and wanted to get married. And trading places when Dan and Eddie joined forces at the end and crushed the stock market together. I felt that shit because of the circumstances that led up to that. Now, adding Leslie Jones and Tracy Morgan to play some ghetto-ass characters, didn't get that. A thumbs down part of the movie for me. I cringed more than I laughed. Morgan Freeman? Come on, man. You could at least try to add an accent. That was weird for me. Or you could have went to your default accent and played the God voice. Something. I fucking love you though. But they should have had you out of your element. And I understand you played yourself. But that role, maybe they should have used somebody else with an African accent and just had you as a stand-in. You still would have made the movie though. Just standing there. That's how much power you got, Morgan. But I do understand. You're Morgan fucking Freeman. Your name alone is a hit. You could be mute through an entire movie. Motherfuckers will go see you. Now the whole Prince Hakeem thing, going back in time to find he had a bastard son and was date raped. Where in the fuck did that come from? I want to know. Who wrote that part in the script and why? Out of all the different scenarios, who in the fuck chose that one? Why not just have Prince Hakeem with a son and a daughter and have them two battling for a spot? And have the son at the end, knowing the king is supposed to be a male, relinquish his inherited spot as the king to his sister, who beat him fair and square in a duel or some shit like that. That would have been a better plot. Y'all made Prince Hakeem to be a promiscuous thug, knowing from the first movie that was nowhere in his character description. It didn't make sense to add that shit at all. And on top of all that shit, have Prince Hakeem be cool with it, getting date raped by a fugly and not want to press charges. And Leslie, no, I'm not calling you a fugly. I'm talking about your character in the movie. She was fugly as fuck. Fucking ugly. Hence, fugly. But a high point in the movie, fucking Wesley Snipes. Killed it. I'm not gonna lie. But if General Izzy wasn't in the movie, I probably wouldn't have finished it. Or got halfway. Just like in Dolomite, Wesley knows how to morph into a character out of his element and make them shits funny as hell. His swagger, accent, I enjoyed it all. Some actors, when they try and get out of their elements, you can see their past roles a mile away. Wesley, I couldn't find one Blade or New Jack City in that motherfucking character. Great job, Wesley. And thank you. Eddie and Arsenio, once again, to my surprise, knocked them barbershop roles out the park. I loved them in the first. I just didn't think they could top them in the second. But didn't they? They murdered them characters. Man, I was rolling. Although 30 years later, them niggas should have been dead. I don't know how in the hell they didn't age. What the fuck kind of use serum were they taking? Whatever it was, they looked the same and was still funny as fuck. I can also see a series with them and not even come close to comparing them to other barbershop movies. They'd be in a category by themselves. I'm sure this shit is being talked about. And if y'all need writers, holla at me. But as far as Eddie and Arsenio, not much to say. They did what was expected and didn't lose a beat. They did a phenomenal fucking job. I expected more for Lisa's character to be more involved in the movie. But she did her thing, looking like she didn't age. I like how she dropped her queenness and went ghetto for a minute, not forgetting where she came from. That shit was funny. I just wish her role would have been a little bigger. One thing I didn't get, that stand-up casket scene. What the fuck? You know, where King Joffrey was admiring his kingdom, just watching everybody during the festivities. Unless he was in that casket because he was expected to die right then and there, standing up after the festivities. If that wasn't the case, why? The shit looked weird, out of place. The fight lion part, taking his whiskers, the last test to become a king, it should have been just that. Fight that nigga, man the beast, get him in a tranquil headlock, and cut his whiskers. Not cheating, building a contraption to sucker the lion with whiskers, cat food, and snip him from a cage. That had nothing to do with bravery, nor courage. If anything, the motherfucker was scared. That's what it showed. You don't see them niggas in shark cages coming out the water like, yeah, I just fought a great white and touched his belly. But I was in a cage and had a long ass stick to poke at him. Totally different. It should have been final tests, cut the whiskers of a lion, cages and manipulation allowed. Me, if manipulation was allowed, I would have made a cage, got that cat food, slipped a Mickey in that bitch, waited, caught him in a deep sleep, and got my whiskers. Fuck it. Another thing I didn't care for. Too much motherfucking singing. It almost felt like a musical, which I avoid. No matter how funny, I just don't like singing throughout an entire movie. I love Salt and Pepper, En Vogue, Gladys Knight, grew up listening to their music. But in the movie, a bit too much for me. I kind of felt like they were celebrating something every 5 minutes. As if the orchestra walks around with the tubas and flutes ready to perform. Or the music artists stroll around the kingdom with the mics in their pockets. Now listen, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with a musical kingdom. I'm just saying, you might want to be careful. That chick can make you soft. Make you more vulnerable to attacks. I like how they brought back McDowell's. That whole vibe was cool. Not too much, not too less. John Amos did his thing. I do wish Michael Blackson had a bigger role. That nigga is funny as hell. They could have promoted him or something. Always had him walk in next to General Izzy, like his sidekick or something. Jermaine, Eddie's son, Lavelle, did his thing. He played with the cards he was dealt. That's the whole thing I like about acting. Majority of times, when a movie does less than expected, they blame the writers and forget all about the actors. Now, I'm not going to sit here and bring up every single actor that was in the movie. I'm bringing up characters that stood out to me and some things that concerned me. So if I didn't say your name, don't take it personal. If anything, you did your thing and didn't affect my reasoning for liking or not liking the movie. I'm bringing up characters that could have swayed me one way or another. One thing I like about sequels that are good, let's keep it real now. The majority of sequels out there doesn't come close to the expectations. Motherfuckers are just horrible and always get away from the plot that made the first one a success. But one thing I like about good ones is seeing the old characters that made the first movie. Especially whenever you haven't seen them in a while, wondering where in the fuck they've been, then they appear out of nowhere and do their thing. I love that shit. Now, although I wanted to see Mr. Soul Glow, Eric LaSalle, the Jerry Curl man, didn't see him. For whatever reason, wasn't in the movie. All good. In there or not, wouldn't have persuaded me at all. But it would have been nice seeing him though. But besides the characters, I know a lot of brands are happy in this motherfucker. Coming to America 2 went brand nuts and was very bold about the shit. McDonald's, Puma, Pepsi, and Lyft, them niggas happy as fuck. I know sales are probably going through the roof right now. And I'm wondering why McDonald's doesn't have a Zumanda burger right now. That shit is genius. And if you're listening, McDonald's, y'all do that shit, you better give me some credit. Puma just showed out in the movie. They could have named that shit Coming to Puma. And lastly, the end, when Eddie came out as Randy, that nigga didn't change a beat. The look on everyone's faces as to him singing his heart out in the most horrific way was hilarious. With all that shit being said, my final thesis: 1 thumbs up, 1 thumbs down, a B-, mainly because of Eddie's contribution in keeping the crew together and eliminating my bias on musicals. Is it going to be memorable for me? That's a hell no. Is it worth watching? That's a hell yes.